Early in the 1960s, a group of enthusiasts advanced the concept of freezing humans as soon as they die, in hopes of reviving them after the arrival of medical advances able to cure the conditions that killed them. The idea went into practice for the first time 50 years ago. Want to know about it? Well, stay tuned to the video and watch the video till the end. Hello guys, welcome to Futureality. Hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications to get new updates about technology and development. Hit the like button to show your support. And in today's video, we're going to discuss what if you freeze a person for 100 years and then thaw them in the future. So without any further ado, let's begin. The field of cryonics, which started freeze-preserving people after death in the late 1970s in the United States, has matured, evolved, and expanded to other countries. People who have died are suspended in vessels filled with liquid nitrogen at below freezing temperatures at a cost of as much as $200,000. The tanks occupy warehouses in Miami, in states such as Arizona, Michigan, and Oregon, and in countries like Russia and China. Most notably, Boyle, who commented on the ability of ice to preserve human bodies and made several attempts to freeze and revive live animals, discovering species of frogs and fish that could survive encasement in ice. Nitrogen, the most abundant gas in the Earth's atmosphere, becomes liquid below -320 Fahrenheit in our atmosphere and would therefore be considered cryogenic. Putting something into liquid nitrogen would therefore make it, if only for a few moments, cryogenic as well. This term can be useful for describing all sorts of things, like environments on planets. We have a saying in cryonics, being frozen is the second worst thing that can happen to you, says Dennis Kowalski, president of the Cryonics Institute in Michigan, the largest cryonics organization in the world. There's no guarantee you'll be able to be brought back, but there is a guarantee that if you get buried or cremated, you'll never find out. Even though not everything that is cryogenic involves people, knowing this, a person that is being cryogenically frozen isn't just being put into a typical freezer. Our freezers are nowhere near that cold. Dead tissues and cells decay, which is definitely a problem about freezing. If the thing you're freezing doesn't get cold quick enough, it could break down. So the idea of doing it for a person isn't totally crazy at first glance. Just freeze a person using a low temperature under cryogenic conditions if you've got the ability, and maybe use some cryoprotectants along the way. The overall theory is extremely sound, Medvedev says. It's not correct to say that they haven't been experiments. His own team, he says, has shown that rats can be cooled to 0 degrees and kept in suspended animation for several hours before being reawoken. He cites another case in which a rabbit brain was vitrified and then thawed, appearing structurally intact although the brain was first set in a formaldehyde-like substance that will rule out if ever functioning as a living organ in the future. These examples and clinical advances in storing sperm and egg cells bear little relation to the technical challenge of trying to perfuse the entire human circulatory system, and crucially the brain with antifreeze without causing any damage. One form of forced hibernation, the behavior is known as suspended animation, literally involves the sudden halting of chemical reaction in the body due to the lack of oxygen. A 10-hour time-lapse video of a garden worm embryo in the process of developing into a full-fledged baby worm showed a rapid process of cell division freeze to a stop upon the environment's oxygen removal. That same cell division resumed unaffected 2.5 hours after oxygen was restored. When subjected to literally freezing temperatures, the embryos of yeast and garden worms don't live, researchers found. A full 99% of those in the experiment died after 24 hours of exposure to temperatures just above freezing. Politics has also impacted technology's progress. In 2004, for example, Michigan state government voted to license a facility called the Cryonics Institute, located in Clinton, as a cemetery. That move, reversed 8 years later, prevented the institute from preparing bodies for cryopreservation on its own because applying such procedures to a dead body required the services of a licensed funeral director. For cryonics, the point of no return is not biological death, but information one. This way, they call a condition where all connections in the brain are completely destroyed. If you freeze the body before the information death, then there is a chance to revitalize the person, retaining his personality. If the preservation takes place after that, there is a chance a person can be physically revived, but with a big concern of keeping his or her mentality, knowledge, and memories. In order to get a better chance of full preservation of the brain, it's better to do it as quickly as possible. In the winter of 2001, the body temperature of Canadian toddler Erica Norby plunged to 61 degrees Fahrenheit, 16 degrees Celsius, as she lay for hours in below freezing weather after watering outside wearing only a diaper. Apparently dead, she recovered completely after being rewarmed and resuscitated. The same curious fate befell Japanese mountain climber Mitsutaka Uchikoshi in 2006, who was discovered with a core body temperature of 71 degrees Fahrenheit, 22 degrees Celsius after 23 days after falling asleep on a snowy mountain. When you're revived after being cryogenically frozen, you're going to need money to live on. Worldwide, more than 250 individuals are now housed in cryonic facilities at a minimum per person cost of about $28,000 in the US. Russia's CryoRus company offers a cut rate level starting at $12,000 with the condition that it stores several human bodies and assorted pets and other animals in communal Dewar containers. Individual contracts can specify the length of storage. At present, the US and Russia are the only countries with facilities that offer human cryopreservation. We wondered if what was happening with the organisms in my laboratory was also happening in people like the toddler and the Japanese mountain climber. Before they got cold, did they somehow manage to decrease their oxygen consumption? Is that what protected them? Roth said, "Our work in nematodes and yeast suggests that this may be the case, and it may bring us a step closer to understanding what happens to people who appear to freeze to death but can be reanimated." Since the brain is so densely organized and so well shielded by the blood-brain barrier and the fatty myelin coating around neurons, the cocktail of cryonic chemicals would need to be vigorously pumped in to ensure every nook and cranny was infiltrated. "You're dealing with an organ that is deliberately protecting itself from things coming in," says Cohen. This means that achieving full vitrification is likely to lead to the exact kind of damaged membranes being ruptured, neuronal connections being lost that the technique is designed to avoid. To prevent ice crystals from damaging cell walls in the frozen state, cryopreservationists replace the body's blood supply with mixtures of antifreeze compounds and organ preservatives, a technique developed to preserve frozen eggs for fertility treatments. Cryopreservation may also one day aid in the treatment of common cancer. Brian is personally investigating how to cryopreserve platelets, which are used in transfusions for people with cancer. Platelets only last around 4 or 5 days, so supplies have to be constantly replenished with donations resulting in wastage. The first person to be cryonically preserved was James Hiram Bedford, who died of cancer in 1967. His body is now at the Alcor Life Extension Foundation in Scottsdale, Arizona. This is the same company where famed baseball player Ted Williams is said to be frozen, but in his case, he was decapitated. Both head and body are said to be cryonically preserved. So instead of draining his blood and replacing it with a customized antifreeze solution to protect the body's tissues from freezing damage, the team simply injected the antifreeze into Bedford's arteries without removing the blood. The team then surrounded the body in dry ice and started on a series of transfers from one container to another that ended up in a Dewar container in Alcor's facility. Now that we've come to the end of this video, I want to thank you for sticking with me, and I'd love to know what you think of it. Just comment down below. Also, if you like this video, make sure you like it and stay safe. Today's video is over, but if you want to see more, there's one on your screen right now, and there are a few more fun videos coming soon. I'll see you in the next video.